He stood in front of her like a man carrying a storm inside him, his jaw tight, his breath rough, his eyes watching her as if she was the only safe place left in the whole world. Nora Hayes tried to steady herself, but her hands shook. She had seen this man face wild horses and drunken gunmen without flinching. But now he looked afraid. Afraid of losing her. Cole Maddox closed the small distance between them, his voice low and raw. He wanted one truth from her. Only one. And she knew the moment she answered. Nothing in either of their lives would ever be the same again. Why did loving him feel like stepping off a cliff? The street in Redwood Crossing buzzed with late-day noise, but Nora barely heard any of it. She tightened her grip on the worn basket in her hands. Her heart pounded so hard, she wondered if Cole could hear it. He stood tall in the settling dusk, dust on his boots, hat pushed back just enough to show the scar cutting across his cheek. A scar with stories no one asked him about. Not anymore. Cole Maddox was the man mothers warned their daughters about, a man with a past, a man with a reputation built from fights he never started but always finished. Ranch hands in 3 counties whispered his name with a mix of fear and respect. But Nora saw something different in him, something quiet, something wounded, something good. Maybe that was the most dangerous part. Nora drew a shaky breath. Cole, we shouldn't be talking like this. His eyes softened, but his voice stayed steady. Then tell me straight. If you want me gone, say it now. She looked down at her faded dress, at the dust on her sleeves, at her shoes that should have been replaced last winter, but held together because her mother needed medicine more than she needed leather. You know why? She whispered. Say it anyway, Cole said. Nora forced herself to look him in the eyes. Her voice wavered. I'm too poor for you. Cole let out a slow breath, one filled with pain and something like anger, but not at her. Then I'll be poor beside you happily. Her heart lurched. She hadn't expected him to say it again, not with that quiet force that made it clear he meant every word. She shook her head, fighting the pull he had on her. Your name carries weight in this town. Mine doesn't. Folks already talk. Let them, Cole said. I don't live for them. I live for what's right. What's right, Nora said softly, is you choosing a woman who won't drag you down. Cole stepped closer. Close enough she could smell leather and pine on him. Close enough she felt the warmth from his chest. Nora Hayes, you don't drag me anywhere. You steady me. There is a difference. She swallowed hard. Your father will never let this happen. My father lost the right to steer my life the day he raised a hand to my brother, Cole said, voice dropping. He doesn't get to choose who I care about. Nora felt the old ache settle in her ribs. They both carried burdens from homes that had broken instead of held. It doesn't change the truth, she whispered. My mother's sick. The rent is weeks overdue. I work every hour I can get. I barely manage as it is. And you think I don't know that, Cole murmured. You think I haven't watched you walk through this town like you're holding the whole world on your back. Her breath caught. You watch me. Every day, he said simply. Nora looked away, heat rising in her cheeks. She had always walked through Redwood Crossing with her chin high, pretending she didn't see the pity in people's eyes, pretending she didn't feel the shame of their whispers. But Cole saw more. He always had. Before she could answer, the saloon doors slammed open across the street. A handful of men stepped out, laughter sharp and mean. She tensed. They weren't looking at her, but they always looked at Cole. Dangerous men sensed other dangerous men, like wolves catching scent on the wind. Cole didn't move, didn't turn, but she felt the way his body shifted. Protective. Ready. He wasn't a safe man. Not to the town, not to his father, not to anyone who crossed him. But to her, he was the safest place she'd ever stood. Nora, he said gently, you're not alone. Not anymore. Let me help you carry things. I can't ask that of you, she said, voice breaking. You'll lose everything. Cole's jaw flexed. Sometimes a man needs to lose something to find what matters. Nora stepped back, needing to breathe, needing to think. I have to get home. Mother's waiting. He reached for her hand, but stopped himself before touching her. I'm walking you back. No, she said quickly. People will talk more than they already do. Cole's eyes darkened. Let them talk. Please, she whispered. He nodded slowly, the fight draining from him but not the feeling. All right, but I'll see you tomorrow, one way or another. Nora turned, her heart a wild thing in her chest as she walked toward the small cabin at the edge of town. She didn't look back. She couldn't. If she saw his face again, her resolve might snap clean in half. Behind her, she heard Cole's voice drift on the wind. Low, certain. This isn't over. A shiver ran through her, not from fear, but from hope she didn't dare name. Nora reached the small cabin at the far end of Redwood Crossing, with her heartbeat still racing. The place looked tired in the dim light. The porch slanted a little. The chimney leaned. A cold draft slipped through the boards, even on warm evenings, but it was home. And it was all she had. She paused at the door, breathing in slow. She needed to wipe the emotion off her face before stepping inside. Her mother, Martha Hayes, didn't have the strength for worry these days. When Nora pushed open the door, the smell of herbs and wood smoke greeted her. Martha sat in her chair by the small stove, mending a torn skirt with stiff fingers. Her breathing was shallow, but steady. You're late, sweetheart, Martha said, her voice soft but worn. Long day? Nora forced a smile and hung her shawl on the peg by the door. Mrs. Dilly asked me to stay an extra hour. She needed help closing the store. Martha glanced up. Her eyes were sharp despite her illness. Your voice is shaky. It's nothing, Nora said quickly. Just tired. Martha set the mending aside. Did you see him today? Nora froze mid-step. Mother. Martha raised an eyebrow. Nora, I've been on this earth 50 years. I can hear your heart even when you don't speak. Nora stirred the thin stew simmering in the pot, avoiding her mother's gaze. Cole Maddox is trouble. Everyone says so. And what do you say? I say he has a past, Nora murmured. And a future he shouldn't waste on someone like me. Martha let out a slow sigh. Child, if that man looks at you the way I think he does, no force in this world is going to turn him away. The stew bubbled quietly. Nora's throat tightened. He doesn't understand how hard life is for us. How could he? His father owns half the grazing land around here. Martha looked at her with sad, knowing eyes. A man isn't his father. Remember that. Before Nora could reply, 3 sharp knocks rattled the door. Nora's heart dropped. Only 2 kinds of people knocked like that in Redwood Crossing. The sheriff, or someone bringing trouble. She opened the door slowly. Standing there was Sheriff Linden, hat in hand, his weathered face carved with worry. Evening, Nora, he said gently. Sheriff, she whispered. Is something wrong? He shifted his weight. I'm afraid so. I've got papers here from Barrett Maddox. Nora's stomach knotted. Cole's father. The sheriff nodded and held out a folded document. Eviction, he said quietly. 3 days. Martha gasped from behind her. Nora steadied herself against the doorframe. We're paid through next week, she said, her voice thin. We just need a little more time. Not my call, the sheriff said. Barrett Maddox bought out your landlord this morning. First thing he did was order this delivered. Nora felt the world tilt. He did this because of Cole. The sheriff didn't deny it. He looked at his boots instead. I'm real sorry, Nora. If I could change it, I would. Martha rose from her chair, gripping the edge of the table as she stood. We'll manage, Sheriff. Thank you for coming yourself. He tipped his hat and stepped away, leaving them in the doorway with the cold creeping in. Nora closed the door slowly. The paper trembled in her hands. This is my fault, she whispered. If I had stayed away from Cole, this wouldn't have happened. Quote, Martha placed a gentle hand on her daughter's arm. No, this is Barrett Maddox's cruelty, not your doing. But Nora barely heard her. She saw Cole's face in her mind, saw his promise, saw the danger in the lines of his jaw. She didn't know if she was ready for all that came with him. The knock came again, softer this time. Nora stiffened. He wouldn't come here. Not after this. But when she opened the door, Cole stood on the porch, hat in hand, eyes filled with something she had never seen before, burning anger layered with fear. "Nora," he said quietly, "I found out what he did." Her voice shook. "Did you tell him about us?" "There is no us, according to you," Cole said softly. "But no. I didn't tell him anything. Mrs. Harland saw us talking and ran her mouth." Nora swallowed hard. "He's trying to force us out." Cole nodded once, jaw tight. "He thinks pushing you out will push me back in line." Martha stepped forward weakly. "Mr. Maddox." "Cole," he corrected gently with a small bow. "Ma'am." He turned back to Nora. "I won't let him do this." Quote. Nora felt her throat tighten. "What are you going to do? Punch him? Fight him? That'll only make things worse." Cole's voice dropped. "I'm done fighting him with fists. I'm going to stand my ground. With you, if you'll let me." "And if I don't," she whispered, "then I'll stand alone." Nora's breath caught in her chest. Cole stepped closer, lowering his voice so only she could hear. "Just tell me where we stand. Tell me if I'm fighting for something you don't want." Nora opened her mouth, but the words stuck. She didn't get the chance to answer anyway. Because hoofbeats thundered toward the cabin. Fast. Hard. Dust rose behind 3 riders approaching at a gallop. Nora felt her pulse spike. "Who?" Cole's expression hardened. "My father." Fear and dread ran through her like cold water. "Get inside," Cole said sharply. "No," Nora whispered. "This is my home." He looked at her then, really looked at her, and something powerful passed between them. Respect, fear, hope, pain. And then Barrett Maddox rode up and swung down from his horse like a man ready to tear the world apart. Barrett Maddox hit the ground with the heavy confidence of a man who expected the earth itself to move out of his way. His boots crunched through the dust as he walked toward the cabin, every step sharp and controlled. His 2 ranch hands stayed mounted behind him, silent as shadows. Nora felt the air change. It tightened, thickened, as if even the wind knew better than to cross Barrett Maddox when his temper burned. Cole didn't move. He simply stepped forward, positioning himself between Nora and his father. His shoulders straightened, his stance widened. He became a wall. Barrett stopped a few feet away, eyes blazing beneath the brim of his polished hat. "Well," he said, his voice cold as a winter creek, "I thought I might find you here." Cole didn't flinch. "I'm not hiding." "That much is clear," Barrett snapped. "You're too stubborn to hide. Always have been." Nora's hands trembled at her sides, but she kept her chin lifted. Martha steadied herself on the table inside the cabin, listening from the doorway. Barrett's gaze slid past Cole, landed on Nora, hard, cruel, measuring. "So," he said, "you're the Hayes girl." Nora swallowed but refused to look away. "Yes, sir." He stepped closer, eyes narrowing. "You're pretty, in a common way." Cole stiffened like he'd been hit. Nora's cheeks burned, but she stayed steady. "I was raised not to lie, Mr. Maddox, so I won't pretend that insult didn't land." A flash of surprise crossed Barrett's face, just a flicker. Then he threw his head back and let out a short, humorless laugh. "Spirited," he said. "I'll give you that." Nora didn't answer. Barrett turned back to Cole. "This ends now. You're coming home. Today." Cole's voice stayed calm, but Nora heard the warning inside it. "No, sir." Barrett's jaw clenched. "I've let you roam like a stray long enough. You live under my roof. You work on my land. You will marry who I say and carry on this ranch the way a Maddox should." "I'm a grown man," Cole said quietly. "I choose my own life." Quote. Barrett's eyes flashed with cold fury. "Not while I have breath." Nora stepped closer before she could stop herself. "Mr. Maddox, please. He isn't choosing to dishonor you. He's choosing to." Cole lifted a hand slightly, stopping her, protecting her. Barrett's gaze sharpened. "She speaks for you now?" "No one speaks for me," Cole said evenly, "but I won't let you talk to her like that." Barrett's voice dropped low, dangerous. "Then let me make it plain. The Hayes cabin is mine now. The rent is overdue. They have 3 days to leave." "We know," Nora whispered. Barrett ignored her. "And if I see my son near this doorstep again, I'll make damn sure both of you regret it." The threat hung in the air like smoke. Cole took a step forward. "You don't threaten them." "I do what I must," Barrett growled. "Not anymore," Cole said. The silence that followed was thick as tar. For a long moment, Nora feared Barrett might strike him. The ranch hands shifted in their saddles, hands near their guns. Martha steadied herself against the wall, breath coming fast. Then Barrett spoke, each word sharp as broken glass. "You want to throw your future away for this girl? Then be my guest. But you will not do it under my roof, or on my land." "I figured," Cole said quietly. Barrett's eyes narrowed. "You have nothing without me." "Then I'll start with nothing," Cole replied. "I've done it before." Nora felt the truth of that hit her deep. Barrett drew a slow breath. "You think you're a man. Prove it." "What do you want?" Cole asked. "Marry her," Barrett said sharply. "Right now. Today. If she means that much to you, sign your future away with a preacher's ink and be done with it." Nora froze. Cole didn't. He looked at Barrett with calm certainty. "If that's the price, I'll pay it." Nora's breath caught. "Cole, don't." He turned to her, his eyes softening in a way that shredded her steady heart. "I'm willing," he said quietly. "But you don't owe me anything?" Barrett scoffed. "Enough with this softness. Make a choice, boy." Cole ignored him. His entire world focused on Nora. "You tell me what you want," Cole whispered, "and that's what I'll choose." Her throat tightened. She wanted him. God help her, she wanted him, but she also knew the cost. For him, for his life, for everything he was supposed to inherit. Before she could speak, Martha's voice broke the air. "This isn't the time," she said firmly, stepping onto the porch with slow, painful steps. "My daughter will not be forced into anything by fear. Not by you. Not by anyone." Barrett blinked. He hadn't expected to be challenged by a frail woman with sick lungs and shaking hands. Martha pointed at him with quiet strength. "Leave this place. Let these young people speak without your shadow choking the truth out of them." Barrett stared at her a long moment. Then, unexpectedly, he nodded once. "One day," he said to Cole, "you'll see I was right." He turned sharply, mounted his horse, and rode off with his men following close behind. Dust settled slowly. Cold, heavy. Cole faced Nora. His chest rose and fell like he had run miles. "I'm sorry," he said softly. She shook her head. "You didn't cause this." "I did," he whispered. "Then I'll fix it." Nora felt her resolve crack. Her voice trembled. "Cole, I don't know what to do." "Then let me help you figure it out," he said. "Tomorrow. I'll come by at sunrise." She didn't answer. He stepped closer. Close enough she felt the warmth of him in the night air. "Nora," he said quietly. "I meant every word. All of them." She closed her eyes. "I know." Cole hesitated, then stepped back. "I'll see you at dawn." He left her standing on the porch with the eviction notice still trembling in her hands and her mother leaning on her shoulder, whispering the truth Nora was too scared to accept. "That man would walk through fire for you, child." Nora knew she'd have to face that truth soon. Nora barely slept that night. Every time she closed her eyes, she saw Cole standing between her and his father. She saw the fury in Barrett Maddox's face. She saw the pain in Cole's eyes when he asked her to tell him what she wanted. By sunrise, her stomach felt tight with worry. She stepped outside the cabin to breathe the morning air. Frost clung to the grass. Her hands were cold. The world felt quiet in a way that made her chest ache. Then she heard horse hooves. Slow, steady, familiar. Cole rode into view. He looked tired, like the night had dragged across his shoulders. But his eyes softened the moment they found her. "Nora," he said gently as he dismounted. She folded her arms around herself. "You shouldn't be here. Your father will." "He already knows where I stand," Cole said quietly. "And nothing he does now will change it." Nora looked down. A part of her wanted to run straight into his arms. Another part wanted to run far away so he wouldn't suffer for choosing her. Cole stepped closer. Talk to me." Her voice trembled. "I don't want to be the reason your family falls apart." He shook his head. "My family cracked years ago. My father broke it, not you. I stayed because of duty." "Not love." Nora met his eyes. "But you could still fix things if you walked away from me." "No," Cole said. "I'd only break myself." The words hit her like warm light. Martha opened the cabin door slowly, leaning on the frame. "Come inside, both of you. There's no sense freezing while arguing about things that matter." Cole helped her back to her chair with gentle hands. Nora watched him. The way he lowered his voice. The way he adjusted a blanket around Martha's shoulders. The way he moved with respect, not pity. A man who could be feared in the streets, softening like this in her small home. It made her chest throb. Martha rested her hand on his arm. "Thank you." "Yes, ma'am," Cole murmured. Nora sat across from him, fingers twisting in her lap. "We can't stay in Redwood Crossing after the eviction takes effect. I've been thinking about Denver, or maybe working as a housekeeper in one of the bigger ranches south of here." Cole's jaw flexed. "You're not leaving town." "Cole, just listen." His voice lowered, thick with emotion. "You don't have to run anymore. I have something to show you, something that might change everything." Nora frowned. "What?" He reached into his coat and pulled out a folded paper and a key. Nora tense. "What is that?" Cole handed her the paper first. "Open it." Quote. She unfolded it slowly, her eyes widened. A deed, her breath caught. "Cole, what have you done?" "It's an old place near Cedar Draw," he explained. "Belonged to my mother's father. My father never had the right to touch it. My sister held the papers. She put them in my name the moment she learned about the eviction." Nora stared at the deed. "A house?" "Small," Cole said. "Needs repairs, but it's yours. Yours and your mother's. Free and clear." Martha gasped softly. "Nora?" Nora looked from the paper to Cole. "I can't accept this." "It's not charity," Cole said firmly. "It's a choice, a safe place, a place where he can't touch you." "Cole," Nora whispered. "It's too much." He shook his head slowly. "It's not enough, but it's a start." Silence settled in the room, heavy, alive. Then Nora set the deed down carefully. "Cole, I don't know what you expect from me." "Nothing," he said softly. "Only that you see your worth, and know that I'm not leaving." Martha watched them with quiet understanding. "Child, sometimes God sends help in ways we don't expect." Quote. Nora's voice wavered. "Mother." Martha smiled. "What kind of mother would I be if I let fear push away the one man who treats you like something whole and sacred?" Heat rose in Nora's cheeks. She turned her gaze back to Cole. "You gave up everything, your home, your inheritance, your place on the ranch." "I gave up nothing I needed," Cole said. "And I gained what matters." Her breath caught. He stood then, slow and steady, and offered her his hand. "Come with me. Let me show you the place." Nora hesitated. The world felt like it could collapse with one wrong choice. But the warmth in Cole's eyes steadied her. She took his hand. His fingers closed around hers. Strong, certain, protective. As they stepped outside, Nora noticed 3 riders coming from the southern trail. She stopped walking. Cole followed her gaze. His face hardened. "That's my sister." A woman rode at the front, tall in the saddle, black hair pinned neatly beneath her hat. 2 riders followed behind her. Cole let out a long breath. If Victoria's riding this far out, something's wrong. Quote. The riders slowed as they neared the cabin. Dust lifted around their hooves. Victoria Maddox swung down from her horse fast, too fast for calm news. Her face was pale, her eyes unsettled. "Cole," she said, breath shaky, "you need to come, now." Cole stepped toward her. "What happened?" Victoria swallowed hard. "It's father. He collapsed last night. Doctor says it was a stroke. He's asking for you." The air shifted again. Heavy, cold, sharp. Nora's hand slipped from Cole's without meaning to. A twist of fear, guilt, and confusion knotted inside her chest. Cole turned to her slowly, eyes searching hers. Something like pain flickered behind them. "I have to go," he whispered. Nora nodded. "Of course." But her heart broke all over again. Victoria touched Cole's arm. "He wants Nora there, too." Nora froze. Cole's breath caught, and the world held still. Nora didn't move at first. She stood rooted to the ground, staring at Victoria as the morning wind brushed past them. Her heart thudded in her chest. Cole's father wanted to see her. Her. The girl he'd tried to push out of town. The girl he insulted. The girl he'd nearly destroyed just to control his son. It made no sense. Cole placed a steady hand on Nora's arm. "You don't have to come if you don't want to," he said softly, but his eyes asked her for something deeper. Support. Strength. The kind only she seemed able to give him. Nora swallowed hard. "If he asked for me, I should go." Martha nodded from the porch, voice gentle but firm. "Your place is with Cole right now." Nora didn't argue. She turned back to Cole, breath tight, fear curling low in her stomach. "I'm ready." Cole's expression softened. He helped her onto his horse, then mounted behind her, his arms steady around her as they rode out with Victoria leading the way. Nora's nerves buzzed, but Cole's warmth kept her anchored. The ride to the Maddox Ranch was quiet, except for the steady thunder of hooves and the whisper of rising wind. The land stretched wide around them, rolling grass, tall pines, open sky, but Nora felt the weight of something closing in, a choice, a moment she couldn't escape. The Maddox Ranch house rose into view, large, strong, built of stone and long years of pride. Nora held her breath as they stopped in front of the porch. Inside, the housekeeper met them with red eyes. "He's been asking for Cole every few minutes, and for the Hayes girl." Nora's legs felt weak as they stepped inside. The air smelled faintly of smoke and medicine. Heavy curtains blocked the sun. Victoria led them down a long hallway. Cole's hand brushed Nora's. Not a grab, not a pull, just contact. Quiet, steady, as silent, "I'm here." But the closer they got, the tighter Nora's chest felt. She remembered Barrett's cold stare at her cabin, his cruel words, his threats. Now he wanted to see her. "Why?" Victoria stopped outside a half-open door. "He's awake," she whispered, "but weak. Be gentle." Cole nodded and stepped in first. Nora followed with careful steps. The room was dim. Barrett Maddox lay in a large four-poster bed, his face pale, one side softened by the stroke. The strong rancher who had once commanded men with a single glance now looked like a man struggling simply to breathe. When his eyes opened, they searched until they found Cole. Something shifted in his expression. Something worn. Something human. "You came," Barrett whispered, voice slurred but clear enough. Cole moved to his side. "Yes, sir." Barrett nodded, a jerky movement. "Good." Then his gaze slid past Cole and landed on Nora. She stiffened. Barrett studied her with more clarity than she expected. Slowly, painfully, he lifted his good hand and gestured her closer. "Come here, girl," he murmured. Nora hesitated. Cole stepped beside her. "You don't have to." "I want to," Nora whispered, surprising herself as much as him. She walked to the side of the bed. The man who once seemed carved from iron now looked small, human, breakable. Barrett's eyes locked onto hers. "You're the one, aren't you?" Nora blinked. "The one?" "The one he'd burn the world for," Barrett rasped. "The one he chose over anything I offered him." Nora's breath caught. Barrett exhaled slowly. "I didn't understand. Thought he was being foolish. Thought he was shaming the family." His voice cracked like weathered wood. "But I see it now." Cole looked stunned. He hadn't expected this. Neither had Nora. Barrett swallowed hard, as if each word cost him. "I don't have much time. Doctor says maybe days, maybe less." His gaze stayed on Nora. "So hear me clear. I was wrong." The words hit the room like a quiet storm. Barrett drew another shallow breath. "If my son loves you, truly loves you, then I have no right to stand in the way." Nora's eyes burned. "You tried to force us apart." "Yes," Barrett whispered, "because I feared he'd throw away everything for someone who wouldn't stay, someone who'd use him." His voice softened. But you're not that. Her throat tightened too much to speak. Barrett looked at Cole. Son? Cole leaned forward, eyes glistening. I'm here. Come home, Barrett said. Help your sister with the ranch. And bring her with you, he nodded weakly toward Nora. She belongs at your side? Nora's breath trembled. Cole's voice cracked. Father. Barrett closed his eyes for a moment, gathering strength. I don't have many things left to give, but I can give you this. His gaze found Nora again. Acceptance. A tear slid down Nora's cheek before she could stop it. She hadn't asked for this, hadn't chased it, but hearing it mattered more than she realized. Barrett's breathing weakened. Stay a few minutes while I rest. The nurse stepped forward and helped ease him back against the pillows. Cole wiped a hand over his face, trying to pull himself together. Victoria touched his arm gently. He meant it. Cole nodded slowly. I know. Nora stepped away from the bed, her emotions swirling. She felt relief, fear, hope, grief. All tangled so tightly she couldn't name one without feeling the others. Cole turned to her, voice low. Nora. She met his eyes. Come outside with me, he said. Just for a moment, I need air. She followed him into the hallway, her heart heavy and full at the same time. When they reached the porch, Cole leaned against the railing, rubbing a hand through his hair. He wanted you here, he murmured. You know what that means. Quote. Nora pressed her hands together, breath shaking. Cole, everything's changing so fast. I know. He turned toward her fully, but nothing about how I feel is confusing. Her pulse jumped. He stepped closer. You asked what you were risking by letting me in. She nodded. Cole's voice gentled. I think the real question is what we're risking by letting fear keep us apart. A long quiet settled between them. Nora's heart thudded painfully. Before she could answer, the front door opened behind them. Victoria stepped out, her face pale. Cole straightened. What happened? Victoria swallowed. Father wants to speak to you again. Both of you. Nora's breath caught all over again. Everything in her life had led her to this moment. Victoria led them back inside the big stone house. Nora's steps were slow. Her hands felt cold. Her heart beat in a soft, uneven rhythm she could not steady. Cole walked beside her with quiet purpose, strong, steady, but his eyes held fear. Fear of losing the last fragile piece of his family. Fear of losing Nora, too. When they entered the dim room again, Barrett lay with his eyes open. His breath was shallow. His good hand rested on the blanket. He looked weaker than before, but his voice, when he spoke, still carried weight. Come here, he whispered. Cole went to his side at once. Nora followed more slowly, unsure of what she was about to face. She stopped near the foot of the bed, but Barrett motioned her closer with a tired gesture. She stepped beside Cole. Barrett studied the two of them. His face softened with something Nora did not expect. Something like peace. I do not know how long I have, he said. So, I will speak plain. He took a slow breath. I pushed you away, son. I tried to shape you into a man I understood, a man who followed orders. But I did not see your strength. I see it now. Cole's throat worked. Father. Barrett lifted his trembling hand and placed it against Cole's wrist. Forgive me. Cole leaned closer. I already have. Barrett exhaled, as if that one sentence eased the weight of years. His gaze moved to Nora then. She stood still, unsure, a little frightened. But steady. You, he whispered. You are nothing like I imagined. You have more backbone than half the ranch hands I raised. He paused for breath. I judged you by your poverty. But you carry a kind of wealth I never taught my children. Honor, humility, heart. Nora felt tears slip down her cheeks before she could stop them. Barrett's voice grew weaker. If you stay with my son, he will never be alone. And that matters more than the ranch. More than the land. More than my name. Nora whispered, Sir, I never wanted to be the reason he lost his family. Barrett shook his head slightly. He did not lose us. He found himself. That is what matters. His eyes drifted to Cole. Take care of this ranch. Work with your sister. Carry the Maddox name with pride. But do it your way. Cole blinked hard. I will. Barrett swallowed with effort. And bring her into this family if she will have you. His eyes moved to Nora again. You have my blessing. Nora's breath caught. She looked at Cole with trembling hands. He looked back at her with a softness that pulled something deep inside her chest. I will rest now, Barrett whispered. The nurse stepped forward and adjusted the blanket. Barrett closed his eyes, but a faint smile touched his mouth. Nora and Cole stepped back as silence settled over the room. Outside in the hallway, Victoria wiped her eyes. He meant every word, she said. I have not seen him look that peaceful in years. Cole pulled Nora close. His hands shook with emotion he had tried to hide. She rested her head against his chest. His heartbeat thudded beneath her ear. Strong, steady, true. After a long moment, she lifted her face. Cole, she whispered, I do not know what comes next. He brushed his thumb across her cheek. Then, we figure it out together. Together, she repeated. He took her hand and pressed it to his chest. Nora Hayes, he said softly. Every choice I made led me here, and I would make each one again if it meant standing beside you now. Her voice trembled. You gave up everything for me. No, he said gently. I gave up a life that was never mine. I kept the one that is. She swallowed hard. I am falling in love with you. His breath caught. I am already there. The truth hung between them. Clear, solid, beautiful. The days that followed moved with quiet weight. Barrett remained alive but weak. He spoke little. But his eyes followed Cole with pride. And he looked at Nora with a gentle acceptance she never expected to earn. Nora found herself at the ranch often, helping Victoria, helping Cole, bringing meals. Sitting with Barrett when the nurse left the room, her mother rested more peacefully, knowing Nora was building something stronger than fear. One evening, after Nora had helped Victoria finish the ledgers, she stepped outside to where Cole stood by the fence. The sky glowed in warm colors. Gold, pink, soft blue. The world felt calm. Cole turned as she approached. You ready to go home? Quote. She nodded slowly. Cole, I have been thinking. His eyes softened. Tell me. She took a breath. I want to see the house at Cedar Draw again, the one with your mother's name on the deed. Quote. He stilled. You do? Yes, she whispered. Not because of duty, not because of fear, but because when I stood inside that small cabin, I felt something I have not felt in a long time. A beginning. A long silence followed. Then Cole's voice broke softly. Nora. He stepped closer. He lifted her hands, and the world seemed to quiet around them. Marry me, he whispered. Not for my father, not for safety, but because you want a life with me. Tears filled her eyes. I do, she whispered. I want that life. Cole pulled her close and kissed her with all the tenderness of a man who had walked through fire to earn this moment. Nora melted into him, feeling the future unfurl between them like sunlight across open land. When he pulled back, he rested his forehead against hers. Then we start our life at Cedar Draw, together. She nodded. Together. Night settled gently over Redwood Crossing, but nothing felt dark. Not anymore. Not with the strength of their choice holding them steady. Not with love growing in a place where fear once lived. Nora Hayes had stepped into a story she never believed was meant for her. A story of loyalty. A story of courage. A story of love strong enough to bend the will of a powerful man. And as she stood beside Cole Maddox, with the world wide open before them, she knew one truth, with her whole heart. She had chosen right, and so had he. If you felt this tale in your heart, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to Wild West Emotional Tales, where every story rides through the dust, the danger, and the kind of love that never dies. See you in the next tale, partner.